Alright, well, I hope the camera's not too blurry using my cell phone here. But, howdy y'all. It's your old buddy, the Silentdragn. Just had a birthday, turned about 44, in case y'all wondering. Yeah, I'm an old fart. An old fart that likes video games. Now, let me tell you something. Okay? Now, I might be borderline senile and have a bit of nostalgia, but, and I do hope you're able to hear this. But anyway, recent events have come to light. As you can see, I'm no longer in the Silentdragn studios. I'm in a hotel. And I have some friends, the Dragon Clan, have actually helped me out and, kept me fed and watered and whatnot, So somehow I'm still able to keep on going, thankfully. But I'm on the hunt for a new day job. Hopefully I'll get one soon. Been putting in the applications. But importantly, let's get into the meat and taters of it as it wears. Sorry, it's a little early in the morning and kind of shaky from only having a meal and a half a day. But anyway, Microsoft and Xbox. Okay, so in order to understand what's going on with them, you have to go back to the very beginning. If you watch the history of Xbox, that documentary called Power On, I think it's free on YouTube. You'll know that even the very first Xbox suffered. It came out a lot later than it was intended to. And quite frankly, if it had shown up in 95 or even 97 when they wanted it to, it probably would have smoked the PS1. But since Sony had their foot in the door already and, had next to no competition with Sega, and, Sega basically pricing themselves out of business by lack of communication between East and West, Sony basically took over from, I wouldn't say 95 because Nintendo still had a strong stranglehold on everybody with their Super Nintendo. And they were losing ground a little bit with the N64. But PlayStation sort of dominated from 96 on up. Not going to see hardly anything in the first year out, okay? So, what do most game companies have first year anyway? Like 4 or 5, maybe 6 first party games if you're lucky. Anyway, so 2001, I believe, the Xbox comes out. Like a year after Sony's PlayStation 2. And because you could play PlayStation 1 games on it and, DVDs right out the gate, no accessory required, it took off like crazy. And basically just dominating everything. Right now the Nintendo Switch is pretty close to catching that mark, but unless the next Nintendo Switch is like a Pro model, it ain't happening. unless they count the Switch 2 as the same generation, which somehow I doubt. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking Xbox, okay, and its future. After the OG Xbox, you had the Xbox 360, which, it was easier for developers to make games for because it used the x86 architecture, the same as computers. So porting them over was a snap. However, they suffered from the Red Ring of Death because they were trying to ship the consoles out way too soon. And so faulty hardware led to a faulty system. The S or Slim model, and later on the E model actually being far superior in terms of hardware, is basically what the 360 should have been. Or more precise, the VCR Xbox One. But the Red Ring of Death basically killed any hopes that the Xbox 360 had of surviving. Then comes the Xbox One, and the failed management big time there, shooting itself in the foot. Microsoft gave that generation to Sony, having the DRM, always being online. Of course, that's why the E model Xbox 360 was out, because that was their answer. You couldn't get online, you had the 360. Somebody was drinking too much paint thinner. Anyway, having to connect a $100 accessory forced with it, that wasn't good. You see the memes where they're over there, TV, 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 TV. Yeah. And Game Pass effectively saved them from just being a total wash. And the Xbox Series consoles actually, they were doing pretty good. They were almost neck and neck with PS5 for a while. But then once Sony was able to get more hardware out there in 2021 and 2022, Microsoft's Xbox console seemed more like a joke, especially since they didn't actually have any exclusives. And Game Pass, well, with that, you don't even need a game console anymore. You play it on your phone, you can play it on a tablet, you play it on a TV or a computer. In which case, I'm like, well, they're charging like, what, $16, $17 a month for that or something like that, the Ultimate. If you just had Steam, you wouldn't have to worry about that if you're going with the PC. Speaking of Steam, they might take over as the new third-party company, or the new third contender, I should say. So the next generation of consoles, it might be the Nintendo Switch 2, PS6, and Steam Deck 2. Just saying, it's a very good possibility. Not that the Steam Deck would do any better than Microsoft, but Valve has got money too. And they're a little bit better too on stuff, Anyway. But some other company might show up. This is a maybe, but what if Apple made a game console? That would be interesting. It's not like they don't have the money for it. Although, the games they've made kind of suck. Sorry. And I think they do have, some partnership with Sony, so they're not really going to compete against their golden goose, as it were. But anyway, if Microsoft drops out of the console wars, okay, and yes, it is a real thing, the console wars. I don't give a damn if you hate me or not. It's a real thing, because the companies are in competition. Microsoft is in competition with Sony. Nintendo kind of does its own thing, but it's still in competition to a degree. So, I mean, here's the way I look at it. Sony is all about the first person, story driven experience. Xbox is about the online multiplayer. And Nintendo, kind of family friendly, but with some of their titles, not so much. But they're more about the innovationness, or kind of, I would say, kind of getting a console to everybody, whether it's portable or not. But the hybrid console is definitely a good win on them. I mean, like I said, they're almost on par with the PS2 in the matter of sales. So, what's next for the Xbox? What's the next box? Well, you probably won't see one. More likely than not, it would be an app that would just go on to the next Nintendo console, next Sony console, and of course, Steam Deck and PC, and you just play any Microsoft Studio games through that. Now that's good. That's good in one aspect, because you can play Halo on the Nintendo, or you could play Starfield on the PS5 or PS6 or whatever. But then you got to ask yourself, what about the people that have a console now, Xbox Series or whatever? And maybe people wanting to try and play Xbox for the first time. Well, for those people, I made a video about this a while back. But personally, if you're going to get an Xbox right now, I would suggest the Xbox One X. It plays 4K and 4K 30. Okay, granted. It does have slower load times, but no big deal. But here's the thing. You don't want to get Xbox One games or Xbox Series through cloud streaming via the Game Pass. No, you don't want that. What you want is the bare essential so you can go online with Microsoft service, because if they're going third party, chances are some of their greatest games are going to be on the other consoles anyway. Now here's what you do. You get yourself a whole bunch of Xbox 360 games. Now, do you want to know why? Yeah, of course you want to know why. Because Xbox 360 games are roughly the same as the PS3, minus the first party titles like God of War, Uncharted, and other games, okay? But you got your Fallout, okay? You got all the Bethesda stuff, okay? You got Fallout, you got Doom, Doom 3, of course you play on those. But anyway, you got the Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. If you have the physical disc, you can literally have all the DLC right there as well, okay? Other games worth noting, the original Red Dead Redemption, okay? To this date, the Xbox 360 version, with its upscaling to 1440p, is pretty damn good, okay? And the Godfather game. I don't know if that's backwards compatible or not, but if it is, hey, more power to you. Freedom Fighters. You can actually play that on there, I believe. It's an OG Xbox game. Games like, and OG Xbox games are good too. Fable. You're not going to be able to play that on a Sony console, at least the earlier ones. The original Saints Row. You could play that, the OG one, on there. But anyway, with the Xbox original and Xbox 360 games, they get upscaled, so that's looking good. Morrowind is always a great game to play. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, I love that game more than Skyrim. I just, especially the Shivering Isles, okay? You can get the Ultimate Edition for like $5 at a pawn shop right now. I mean, come on. Seriously. So, those games that I named right there, okay, minus some of the BioWare stuff like Fable and Jade Empire. Yes, you can get that through the streaming on the premium tier of the PlayStation Plus. You can get some of those games, the Godfather game, you can stream, it's a PS3 title. But unless you got really good internet, it's not going to be worth playing. I'll tell you that right now. It ain't going to be worth playing at all. All right. I mean, I had 100 megabit per second internet, 300 plus when it was a hard line to my PS4, because that's when I had the PlayStation Now, and even when it was hardlined in, no, it was just horrible, and it's because they have servers made out of PS3s, and it's like this one game is being copied to all of those, and then it's being sent to you instead of you having the disc actually in the console itself and playing it. If you played the actual PS3 and the copy of the Godfather game, not Godfather 2, the Godfather game, Dawn's Edition, I think it was, you put that into a PS3, I guarantee you it would play a hell of a lot better than the PS4, PS5 streaming through PS Plus, okay? Now, I might be nitpicking, okay, yeah, a few stutterings and slowdowns, but an action adventure game like that, yeah, trust me, it really does matter. Especially when you want to input those cheat codes, and yes, you're going to need them. Your character gets shot once in that game, you lose almost half, if not all, of your health. They headshot you, you'd be gone. It's basically Dark Souls with guns. Anyway, but so the best thing to do right now, because you don't want to spend $500 on a Series X if you don't have an Xbox, okay? If you don't have an Xbox console at all and you're wanting to get one just to see what those games are like, made by Bethesda, games like Fable and Jade Empire, those games are really good. I especially Jade Empire, I love that game. I've probably played it at least 30 times. Lost Odyssey, another great game. Console locked to the Xbox 360, okay? Definitely worth playing, okay? If you're a fan of JRPGs, it's a blast. It's my answer to Final Fantasy X. But anyway, because if you don't have an Xbox at all and you're wanting to get one, right now I suggest the Xbox One X, not the Series X. I saw on the marketplace they actually had somebody selling one. Granted, didn't have no games with it, for $100. They're selling it dirt cheap. Had a controller, had all the hookups, the power cord and the HDMI. But because of the potential future of Microsoft and Xbox, that's probably the way to go. And there's another reason for it. Because the Xbox One X has all its downloads already out, all its updates. So that console, when a console reaches the end of its life cycle, it's at its peak. Okay? You pop in a game, you update it, it's going to get all the updates at once. Or the latest updates, making the games run better than you would ever get on the base model, okay? And what you do is for the next year or two, while that game console is still active on the internet, you get the bare minimum of the Xbox subscription. I think it's Game Pass Core now. I think it's like $10 a month. It's cheap-ish. You get that so that you can install your games and get all the updates for them. And then, from then on out, and go offline, and play all your games. Outside of that, you could probably pick up an Xbox 360 and play the Xbox 360 games. That would be my next choice. And I would suggest the E model because it is the best. And it's perfectly square design, making it look like a small version of the Xbox One VCR. That's probably for the best. And, there's definitely not going to be any DRMs on that. Although, I will warn you that any online features are null and void through there. So, you take the good with the bad. And there you have the facts of Xbox. Play Xbox 360 games on the 360. Probably won't have any updates. You might be playing a broken Bethesda mess. It is what it is. A couple of years from now or so, should they shut down the servers for the Xbox One, that includes the Xbox One X, you might be stuck with the same thing. You might not be able to play your games at all. So it is a little tough. So I honestly can't say. If you don't have an Xbox, I'd suggest the Xbox One X, at least in the short run. Maybe Xbox 360 S or E. I personally like the slim model, but it's just me. It looks cooler. Comes in various designs. But yeah. As far as me, I got rid of my Xbox One X a while ago because I came into some hard times financially. And even my PS5, but then again, I spent too much money on it, and I was having some overheating issues because I bought it secondhand. So, and of course, since it was a launch model, there was a good chance that I bought it in like 2023, so it had already been about 3 years old by that point. So there's a good chance that it's going to need to get rid of it soon anyway, because hardware just doesn't last, especially nowadays. That's why they come out with new models and revisions and whatnot, and pro models, which PS5 might have a pro model coming up, maybe. So I was thinking I might wait until I hear something about that before I get a PS5 again. Of course, granted, it'd probably be a lot cheaper than what I paid for my scalped PS5 earlier. Yes, I had to pay scalper prices because I bought it in I bought it in 2022 just before the scalper stuff ended. Quite frankly, I wish I didn't because I spent way too much money on it. And that's neither here or now. But I might get a Series X for myself just to see how the performance actually stacks up against the PS5 that I used to have. And I doubt very seriously if there's going to be an Xbox Series X Pro, especially if they're going third party later on, which I kind of believe they will. They'll probably just make an app to put on other game consoles. They're already doing it with the phones and even some Samsung TVs, I believe. But yeah, that's my 2 cents worth of Xbox rambling ons. So if you like this video, you like it, you can follow the channel if you haven't before. I'll try to keep updated. I have a Twitch and Twitter account. Not on Twitch too much because, I don't have a game console to play on. But hopefully things will get better. And, who knows what the future brings.